Hero. Coach, appreciate some of your time as always. We know it's difficult to sweep anytime in the SEC, and so that's got to make this weekend feel really, really good.
Yeah, against a team that we consider a really good team and a team that's really offensive. I thought we pitched really well throughout the weekend, and it was nice that. As we've talked before, usually you can count on pitching to be consistent. Sometimes there's ebbs and flows with the offense. It was nice to see us really swing it well on Sunday.
You may have known this. I was kind of blown away when I saw this note yesterday that Alex Sims sent over. It's been since 2004 where you've gotten a sweep in the opening weekend of league play. How big a deal is that to start the conference grind out with 3 wins?
I had no idea that was the case, but we just sweeps are rare, and it's almost like an extra game. When if you rather than just win the weekend and go 2-1, you're actually 1 game over the team. If you win all 3, you got a 3-game lead over that particular team, and so they're rare. As we know in our league, it all comes down to about, the champion will be crowned at the end of the year through the 30-game schedule, usually by 1 game. Teams will make it or not make it to the SEC tournament, usually by 1 game. Sometimes hosting or being a national seed has to do more with how you finished in the SEC, and usually that's 1 game. So they all matter so much. So just, again, excited that we got 3 on the first weekend.
Walk us back to Friday night. Gunnar Hoagland was just outstanding for you, and he was a week ago as well. But that moment in the 7th inning where he got into a little bit of trouble and then was just able to go strikeout to get out of that jam.
Yeah, just, that's what aces do. We mentioned all the time, and, I think it's much easier said than done, but the difference between the good pitchers and the great pitchers is, that the great ones, get off the field. They just make it so hard to score. You have to earn your runs, and that was one of those moments. If you saw it on a replay or you were sitting at Swayze live, that's what special pitchers do. We used to watch Pomerantz do it. Used to watch Lance Lynn do it, and now you watch Gunnar. We've seen Doug Nikhazy do it. You just make those big pitches, at the right time to get off the field and not let the other team score.
You're obviously locked into what's going on at the games. I'm curious if there was a point, given all that has happened in the last year, where you kind of allowed yourself just a moment to soak in what the setting was like with big crowds for all 3 games this weekend.
No, not really. Obviously it's noticeable. We haven't seen it, in a year. And this was our first really big weekend, and it's kind of been gradually going. Credit Keith Carter and the administration kind of stair-stepping it as we go, and allowing more tickets to come out. But it was a special weekend, great crowd. I don't know how many we ended up with, maybe near 27,000 maybe. For 3 days. And, it was neat. But in the moment, I'm sure the kids, I think it's another thing, for me and the coaches, you're sitting in the dugout, and you kind of, you're a little sheltered from it. If you're, Jacob Gonzalez, and you're sitting at shortstop, or, you're, TJ McCants in center field, and you're actually looking at a lot of that, 9,000, you're looking at them in the face. It's got to be a pretty cool moment. I'm sure those guys felt it and saw it, and, it was special to them. But, I saw some tweets and I saw, some video, and, I think it's almost after the fact.
Take me a little deeper on Drew McDaniel, just kind of sticking with the pitching. What are you seeing from him that maybe gets a little bit better each time he steps on the mound as he gets more experience, makes his first SEC start, ends up getting the win? And it seems like he's kind of, if you look at him in the first or second inning, you're not sure how deep he's going to get, and then you look up and he's giving you 5 innings.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we were talking about Gunnar, you saw that from Drew this past weekend where he got into a couple jams, and they always do. You can look at Gunnar's line on Friday night and say, wow, 8 shutout innings, 14 strikeouts. Man, he just blew them away. But it was a 0-0 ball game, and, they get a double, in that 8th inning, and it's all for naught, right? Then all of a sudden it's 2-3-0. We probably lose the baseball game. So, back to Drew, there were some opportunities where they rushed him, and he was able to just give up a single run here or there and stay out of the big inning. And again, I think that just shows his maturity. All his stuff continues, I think, with each outing to get better and better. The breaking ball, the slider is really a plus pitch for him. His fastball is not elite yet, but I think maybe at one point, but his command's getting better. He's a super athlete on the mound. He can control the running game. He has a good pickoff move. And so he has everything that you need to be a really good arm in the SEC.
A couple of things on Derek Diamond I'd love to hear you about. Number one, the velocity early yesterday. He came out of the gates, and he was 94, 95, maybe even touched 96 in the first inning. One, I guess maybe did you expect that? And then two, maybe just kind of speak to his ability, even with a big lead, to go out and continue to put zeros up yesterday.
Well, you saw him, in Texas, and, he was up to 97 in Texas, the opening weekend. And, yesterday, the first batter against Bliss, the strikeout, the fastball away was at 97. And so he can run it up there. I mean, he's a guy that certainly, early on can, throw the ball in the mid 90s. But yesterday he had an elite changeup and, really, again, I think a really good offense when you talk about Miller and Williams in their lineup. They got, some left-handers that can really cause havoc. And I thought he did a great job with his changeup. Maybe better than the first two guys in Hoagland and McDaniel, and he was able again stay out of some innings to keep putting zeros up, got deep into the game, and of course we had a huge lead, and he was near 100 pitches, and it was time to save some of those bullets for next week.
This is certainly a baseball thing, and you work with pitchers, and you've been a catcher yourself. Maybe you can give some insight. Why is it that when you know the talent's there, some days a changeup in particular, like you were talking about, it's there, it's down, it's diving off the plate, and then some days it's just not. What is it about baseball and pitching that allows a pitch that a guy's capable of throwing sometimes to be really, really good, and sometimes it's just okay?
Well, that's a difficult answer. I think just being so vague in general with it, but probably the biggest thing is just their feel and command with it that day. Usually the changeup, for most college pitchers is usually their distant third pitch. And I think that the reason for that, at least my explanation for that is, when you're young, it's just not the cool thing to throw something slow. It's cool to throw it hard. It's cool to throw it and have some movement. It's just not cool to throw it slow. And so when you're, or the other part of it is if you're a Gunnar Hoagland or you're a Drew McDaniel, sometimes in high school your fastball is so above the hitters that you don't changeup will get you in trouble just because they can't catch up to your fastball. As the competition gets better, you start to need that third pitch, and it becomes a better pitch for you because kids can hit your fastball, and you see people develop their changeup when they get to professional baseball. But I think that the easy answer to the question is most guys just don't command their changeup that great. That's why it's a distant third pitch. I think most guys. Some guys have a good changeup, but all three of those starters have pretty good changeups. And they continue to get better.
Tell me a little bit more about T.J. McCants. As far as I can tell, overwhelmingly, he's been an infielder. And there was a play early in the game, straightaway center field, ball hit toward the warning track. He opened up, got back to it, came forward making the catch. And I know that looks like a little thing, but it just looks so incredibly natural for a guy who's played very little outfield to make that play.
You're right, and I wish I had the answer for that. I think the first thing that comes to mind is he's a great athlete. He's a guy that can play anywhere in the infield, and you've seen us do that before, Richard, over the years. And a lot of times those infielders that are really good athletes like Bench and others, we throw some video out there in the outfield. The infielders, when they don't have to catch it bouncing on the clay coming off about 100 miles an hour, and they don't have to throw it accurately to a base, they think it's pretty easy. And so when all they have to do is catch it in the air, they think that's pretty simple. And so they don't make it bigger than it is. And of course, TJ's a tremendous athlete. And we pulled him aside a couple weeks ago and said, hey, Peyton's coming back, and we're looking for options to be able to get you back into the game, get you into the lineup, and get you at bat. And probably the easiest way is if you'll run out in the outfield and catch the ball. Can you do that? And he said, no doubt. He goes, so, we put him in left field, and then, of course, we had some injuries and some sicknesses at first base, and so moving Elko over and moving Bench back to the infield seemed like the normal transition. If TJ could handle center, obviously it looks like he can.
Last thing, 20 seconds left. Any update on Nikhazy and his health for this weekend coming up?
Yeah, he'll start Friday.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time.